please.
Okay. What I'd like to do is show you how we pat cord here in our office. One thing that Dr. Gordon Christensen says is one of the worst problems he sees among dentists. If you go to laboratories, lots of dentists are not exposing the margins. So we want to make sure the margins are exposed in all of our impressions. We do that with the 2-cord packing technique. I'll just go through and explain it bit by bit. Watch closely. We use Viscostat quite a bit here in our office. I have one rule I want everybody to be aware of, and that is you never put a cord into a bleeding sulcus. If you can remember that, life will go well for you when you pat cord. We're first of all going to rinse for me a little bit. We want to make sure that we can stop the bleeding first, and if the Viscostat doesn't have a lot of little black pieces of coagulated blood, then we're probably doing well. We've got good control of the bleeding. And go around. I usually have the assistant rinsing, and if you're doing it yourself, you'll need this to stop more often. That's good. And you rinse, and you make sure there's no bleeding in the sulcus anywhere. Then the next key that people don't believe me on, but I'm going to tell you the key, is leave a little layer of Viscostat in there before you pack each cord. Notice that there is no coagulated blood. Next, we're going to take a small 00 cord and just gently place it in between. When I say gently, I mean gently and firmly. So I'm putting pressure, and I go all the way around the tooth, bit by bit. It's a nice firm pressure where you hold it and stop. Don't do any of this pecking, it won't get you anywhere. Our small cord we want to take all the way around the tooth, subgingival. We want to go below our margin. The small cord has one purpose, and that is to go below the margin and to control the bleeding. That one's being a little tricky on me right there. We'll show later on on a drawing or on a typodon. I'll need to show how we can position our cord packing instrument. But you guys want to make sure you're positioning the cord packing instrument into the sulcus and against the root. Sometimes people get confused and poke straight down, and that can cause damage to the gum tissue. We don't want to do that. Those correct places to place our instrument. You doing okay in there, little Miss Patient?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's a deep enough sulcus and you have a little overlap of cord, you can go ahead and put it overlapping, as long as you end up with everything in your first cord being below the margin. If it's not a very deep sulcus and you can't get that both pieces of cord to go onto the margin, then you're going to have to cut off your cord if it's too long. Next, we're going to rinse so we have a nice clean view. See if everything's below the margin. Remember how just because one step follows the next doesn't mean that we just go to it. We make sure that we have completed what we're trying to complete with each step. So now I have a better view. I can see a couple little spots where I haven't packed it below the below the margin. Now that looks great. Okay, there's no bleeding sulcus, so that's good for me to now put another layer of Viscostat. If you can always remember what our ultimate purpose is to be able to have an exposed margin, no bleeding, when we take the cord out for an impression. Now this cord is a number 3. It's very large. Its purpose is not to stop bleeding. Its purpose is to push the gingival tissue away from the tooth so that when I take it out, there's a nice open trough for the impression material to slide into. When we take our impression, we leave the small cord in, but we take this large cord out. It's not so important that this cord be exactly the right length. Just need to be sure that we're in the sulcus every place. Now we've got the cord in the sulcus. The large cord in the sulcus and the small cord in the sulcus. And at some point the doctor's going to want to take those cords out to take the impression. What I'll do is I'll take this large cord out now, and you'll see what a nice impression we have. Now we're ready to take our impression, and I'm going to pull the cord out, and you're going to see what a very nice tooth we have ready for the impression. Get the large cord out. Look at how we can see the margins so clearly everywhere. There's plenty of good exposed margin, and there's no bleeding. This is a perfect setup for a nice impression. Okay, great.